ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Midland Cultural Center, and welcome to A Day in the Life. Now, here is the host of A Day in the Life, Fred Hacker.
Well, that wasn't very enthusiastic. That's better. Thank you all very much for being here, and welcome to A Day in the Life. We have some wonderful sponsors, and we have had for a long time, and I would like to tell you about them as we get started. Our season sponsor, who sponsor our program for the entire year, are the firm of Bales, Dishaw, Holloway, who are wealth management service providers and provide strategic advice to their clients. And I believe that Jeff Holloway is here, and I think that Janet Walter is here. If you're here, could you stand up? There they are, and that's convenient, sitting together. Thank you for doing that. Our show sponsor this evening is Grant Thornton, the chartered accountancy firm, and we have one of the partners here now, Steve Hogg, and I see Steve sitting beside one of his former partners. Steve, thanks so much for sponsoring the program, and Jeff and Janet, please take our thanks back to Kathy and to Michelle. We appreciate your continuing support. Well, this is the 131st program in our series. We actually started this, I guess it would be 10 years ago this month. It was in October of 2012. So we're celebrating an anniversary of sort. And we have a special show for you tonight. I have really enjoyed preparing for this program. Our guest tonight is one of the funniest people that we have had the privilege of hosting on the program. Her motto I want to share with you, and this will just get you ready for what's to come. Her motto is, there are a lot of things to be serious about. I am not one of them. Have any of you ever received an email from her? I'm sure some of you must have. So her email address block, you know, the little block at the bottom of an email, it says, and she's describing herself here, under her name, it says, Creative Wizard. And she is. Would you join with me in welcoming Ileana Grimm?
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Boy, the response for you was a lot more enthusiastic for me. When I came out, it was just my wife clapping.
Sorry to say.
That's life. Delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
You have a really interesting life, Ileana. I don't need to tell you that, but I'll share that with our friends here. And what we're going to try and do tonight is look at your life, early days on, talk about some of the influences that played a part in your development. Most of our guests also have a few coincidences that lead to their success, so we may touch on some of those too. I want to begin just at the beginning. Can you tell us when and where you were born?
May 9th, 61.
61, and where?
Penetang.
Penetang. I know that talking about your parents isn't always easy because you've been through a lot there, but I think it does inform our audience to sort of understand your backstory. So tell us about your mom. I know that you lost her at an early age.
Yes. All that I know about her has been handed down through my aunts and cousins. I was 2, maybe just a little bit older than 2 when she passed away. What I know is that she was very creative, making all of her dresses and outfits, and loved the theatrics of it. She painted. I have one of her paintings.
So let me get this straight. Theatrics and painting.
Oh, just, the posing and...
I'm just saying, I wonder where we got the theatrics and the painting from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where was she from?
Lithuania.
Lithuania, okay. And what was her cause of death?
Melanoma, as the start site, and then it goes somewhere else.
I, of course, only know her through the pictures I've seen, but I want to share a picture with our audience because she's a very vibrant woman. What's the occasion here?
My parents got married.
Oh, that's handy.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, tell us about your dad. Actually, before we do that,
Yes.
let's introduce some of the rest of the family. I love this picture.
It's the best picture in the world. The meat slabs. Big honkin' meat slabs. Everyone gets a pitcher of beer and a meat slab. And what you can't see, because of the way it's cropped, it's a board sitting on cinder blocks in some random backyard with, your typical picnic wrap thing. It's fantastic. And Oma, look at her.
Oma scares me to death.
She is, and she doesn't stop eating for anything. She just goes.
So introduce us to the other folks. Go around from left to right, if you will.
My aunt, Tani, she lives down in Nashville, and she's the youngest of all the sisters. The next is my sister, wearing, I'm sure these were outfits that my mom sewed. Mm-hmm. So she would go and get coats from Salvation Army and then open them all up for the material and make that cute little red thing. And of course, there's Oma going for it. And see the beer stein? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and this maybe is where it started, they used to give me beer with sugar in my baby bottle. It's not my fault.
You're saying that's where it started.
It's not my fault. And then there's my mother, and making his first appearance is my brother. She's pregnant with him.
Ah, your mother's very vivacious there. Mm-hmm. Well, let's meet your father. Where was he from?
Germany, East Germany.
East Germany.
Frauenwald. And yes, he did walk 3 miles to school every day.
Both ways.
True. Both ways, and one was uphill.
Yeah.
It's true.
Wow. This is your father, and if anybody is sensitive to photography of unclothed people, they shouldn't look at this. Where did this guy get this body from?
I don't know. And most of the photographs that I have of him in his early years look like that.
Yeah, he looks like a model.
I know.
Wow.
I know, it's like a Clark Gable-y thing.
Yeah. Now, he came to this area and started a business. I think it was called Robert Grimm Industries.
The first version was called Groma Industries.
Oh, okay.
And then it became Robert Grimm Limited, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And that business continues under a new name today?
Yes.
Would you like me to?
North Simcoe Tool and Manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So many of you will know that business.
So cool story, in the back of that picture, he's working on a piece of property that is beside where I'm visiting with my cousin right now.
Where you're visiting now?
And he had bought that property and he was clearing it, and that's where a lot of the pictures are. And who lives there now actually owns North Simcoe
Wow.
Tool, and yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Now, did he have any artistic talents?
I do remember him playing with modeling, so doing some paper mache and stuff, but yeah.
And he gave you some advice when you were fairly young that I think has helped you in your business career.
I mean, I don't know why I would remember this, much less why he told me. He said, never have one customer that can put you out of business.
It's very sound advice. Yeah, good. Now, your father, after your mother died, tell us about your father's sort of personal life.
Well, he was handsome, and that
Yes,
had him-
dangerous.
Yes, dangerously so, and so he, he had 2 young kids. My brother was adopted to my aunt and uncle, and he ended up marrying a woman from Toronto, and she moved up here, and they were together for quite a few years.
Yeah.
They parted ways, and then he continued what he did well.
Now, you were fairly young when he passed away, too. How old
Yeah.
were you, Ileana?
13.
13. And what happened to you then?
He had just married someone, so I didn't know her very well. I think she was in for a bit of a shock with what happened, and now you've got 2 kids, my sister and myself, and she had a son. And my sister left home at 15, and I knew that I was next. I had the good fortune of somebody very influential, Chester Graham. He he was a guidance counselor, but I'd go every day to speak with him. And he worked very hard to find a place for me to go because he knew I was going to be asked to leave on my 16th birthday. And on my 16th birthday, there was a knock at the door, and a woman that I did not know, who was my birth mother's best friend, she said, "Ileana Grimm, get in the car." Fantastic pacer, orange, paneling.
Wow.
I got into the pacer, and she said, "I have some words for this woman." And she went in, and I thought, oh, she's probably bludgeoned to death by now. But I sat in the pacer, clear view.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I went and lived with her.
That's a real tribute to Chester. As you know, Chester was a guest on this program
I watched it.
a while ago, and he's certainly obviously done a lot for you and a lot for the community, too. So we've met briefly your siblings, at least your sister. Tell us just a little bit quickly about her, if you would.
She is an artist, incredibly talented, is a gallerist, has a gallery in Port Carling called Red Canoe Gallery. She sells Canadian art, beautiful work, and her work is outstanding. She lives in Aurelia, and she has a passion for renovating houses.
Cool. And how about the younger brother? He wasn't quite born the last time we saw him.
No, my aunt and uncle, she was the oldest, not the other one, yeah. So my oldest aunt and uncle adopted him, and my brother grew up to become an ophthalmologist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's a hoot.
And
I mean it, he really is, he's funny.
Do you see your siblings?
Yes, I
Good.
just saw my sister last night, had a lovely dinner.
Great.
Too much wine, and that's okay. And I'll see my brother, when will I see him next? In January.
Great, great. Well, let's talk about education days.
Okay.
We'll begin with elementary school. A lot of people just go to one elementary school. You seem to move around a bit.
Well, backtrack to what my dad does well.
Yeah?
I ended up moving a lot.
Okay.
So by the time I was in grade 9, I had been to 9 schools.
Wow. That's very unsettling.
I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah. Now, it would be a little challenging, I would think, to make friends if you're moving schools almost on a yearly basis. How did you do that?
How did I move? Well, in a moving truck.
How did you make friends?
I developed a very keen sense of humor because people want to be around the funny
people.
The funny person.
Yeah. Now, I think we have a picture of you.
Oh, yes. Look at that.
Grade, can't read the small print.
72. So that would, yeah.
That'd be about grade 6. Thank you.
Yes. Look at us. All really sporting some good mustard color.
That must have been fall. Ileana, one of the schools that you went to was in Tacoma, Washington.
Yes.
And there was a teacher who provided an influence that I think is unusual. What was that?
I was desperate for a dog.
Yeah.
I needed a dog. I wanted a dog, and I had decided that what I was going to get was a sheepdog, big, hairy beast.
Yeah.
And my father was seeing somebody, and she had a son, and the son also wanted a dog, and he ended up getting a Saint Bernard. Fantastically large animals.
Yeah.
And I went with them to get the Saint Bernard, and there was one dog left, and so I took the runt of the litter, which was not a small dog, no runt. And I read a book, and the book said how to name it. Well, maybe the dog reminds you of someone. And at that school was a math teacher named Mr. Atwood, and that is how Atwood got his name.
Now, we should be very clear. This is not Mr. Atwood from Midland Secondary School. This is in Tacoma, Washington,
That's
on
right.
the far coast. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about your secondary school experience.
Okay,
Where'd you attend?
Midland Secondary School.
Just one?
Just one.
Just one school?
Well, see, because Dad passes away, so
Yeah.
we no longer go on the
Right.
traveling caravan.
So he would have passed away very early in your high school.
Yes, I was 13, so yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to turn 14.
Yeah. How did his passing affect your academic career?
I was not a stellar student coming up to that point. And something with his passing, my first thought was, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
Because it just becomes like, yes, you have tears and stuff, but well, now what's going to happen to me? Yeah. And then after all of that reality sort of settles, I realized that it was up to me.
Really?
Yeah. You know, there wasn't a safety net. Now I knew I had to figure out school, I had to figure out my future, and I couldn't forget my bathing suit at home when it was swim day.
We have some pictures from your high school. This is an awards night
Yes.
at MSS. And may I just tell the audience that every time you're in a picture with a group of people, you're the fourth person from the left in the back row.
I don't know how that happened.
But that's
I don't know. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You are.
Yes, there I am.
Yeah. Now, your art ability and your art interest also started while you were at MSS. And I have a picture here I hope you'll recognize.
Oh, yes. But I will say, I have to go back. My kindergarten report card actually said, I have given Ileana left-handed scissors, and she has above art abilities.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
It started there.
The foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And then, look what I produced.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. A wine bottle.
Yeah, what, does anyone recognize, what is it? What is it, Tower? Black Tower.
Black Tower.
Black Tower.
Yeah.
Yes, a staple at every European dinner.
And Chianti on the
Yes,
left. Yeah.
empty.
Yeah. Now, this is a really interesting work.
You needed an explanation for it.
I think I'm not the only one who needs an explanation for it.
It was in the yearbook. I was looking for photos for you, and that fantastic thing was in the area of artistic impressions.
What does the top thing say?
Popsicle.
Popsicle. And what does it look like?
A popsicle, I hope.
And what does the bottom? What's the triangle say?
Oh, sailboat.
Sailboat.
Yes,
oh,
you see the
The
waves?
water. Yeah, that's very creative.
Thank you very much.
Took me a while to figure it out,
warranted
but
being
it's
in the
great.
yearbook.
Yeah, it's got to be good. Got to be good. While we're on the subject of MSS,
Yes.
were there any teachers there who had an influence on you?
Well, definitely Mike Miller
Yeah.
and Chester Graham.
Okay. What role did Mike play?
Sports was such an important part for me, and he lived down the beach. I was in the house where my father had when my father had passed. I still lived in Palm Beach, and he was very kind to often drive me home from practices and games
Great.
for volleyball. Yeah.
Yeah. And Chester provided somebody to talk to.
Somebody to talk to, found the person that became my guardian, played an extra special role in helping me with still some courses that I struggled with. He got me some mentoring and tutoring and made a difference.
Very special.
A big, big difference. He believed in me.
While you were at MSS, you were very involved in sports. What sports did you play?
I played volleyball. I played basketball. And 1 year I played tennis.
And you mentioned track as well at one point.
I don't think I did, but I could throw a mean shot put.
Yeah,
I should have.
You
I missed
should have been
it.
in
I
track.
missed it. Yeah. It was.
It missed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was hard because I lived so far outside of.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of what am I going to pick?
Now, where do we need to look in this picture?
Well, I think we already know. I'm going to be in the back row.
Fourth from the left. So that is the junior girls basketball team.
Okay.
This is the junior girls volleyball team. Where are you in that one?
Well, I think we can kind of guess on that.
Yeah. Who's the good-looking dude on the left?
Yes, Mr. Miller.
That's Mike Miller.
Yeah. Sporting the good 70s look.
Yeah. This is the senior girls basketball team.
Yes.
And that's Chester.
Oh, I
in the
changed
back.
positions there.
Yeah, you're confusing it.
Ooh, it's like a shell game.
Where are you in this one?
I'm second from the end on the back row.
Back row?
Yeah. I do
Second
definitely
from
have
the
an affinity for the back row.
Yeah. And this is the volleyball team.
Oh, I'm
seniors.
shaking it up. Changing the hair, changing the position.
Perfect.
Yep.
Now, something you mentioned to me that I thought merits just a quick mention is that your sporting teams had to dress up for games.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was pretty cool. I didn't pay attention all day in school because I had that fancy outfit on. Because I know I'm scooting out the door. It's kind of like when you have first class and you know that you never fly first class, but you got in there anyway.
Yeah.
You walk in like, oh yeah.
Look at me.
Look at me, I got my fancy clothes on, I'm going to Elmville. Play the volleyball.
Perfect.
Yep.
Now, we have your graduation picture from the MSS year.
Oh yeah.
Are you ready?
It's a look I just can never
Look
live
at that.
down.
What a cute girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
It looks like I haven't changed my hair.
sports are tennis, basketball, volleyball. Your pet peeve is life.
Lame.
And your aspiration is further your education. To do what? I don't know. Something fun. And what does PF stand for?
We thought it was PF Flyers, remember?
Yeah, right. Being 50 and still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. How did that turn out?
Well, I've passed the 50 mark
Yeah.
by 1 year,
Yeah.
and I'm still trying to figure
Okay.
what the heck I'm doing.
Let's talk about camp. Camp was really important to you, and I should share with our audience that first time I know I met you
Yes.
was at camp.
Yeah.
When you were a counselor and our family was at family camp. So how did you get a job at camp?
Well, I went to grade 4 camp,
Okay.
and I just thought it was the best thing ever. This was fantastic. And there was a lot of fighting at home, so it was even better.
Yeah.
And I asked to go then as a camper. And I spent many a year. And
This is at Camp Kitchaquana,
yep,
Beausoleil.
Beausoleil Island. And then my father passed away. And I wanted to desperately go back to camp, and I was told that I wasn't allowed to because I had to make money. So in my smartness, I put together my portfolio at 14, and I marched.
This is your art portfolio.
My art portfolio. You can imagine how spectacular it was by
Right. Well, we've already seen a couple of examples.
Yeah, it had popsicles and sailboats.
Yeah.
And I made an appointment with Austin Matthews at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And I went in and I asked for the job as the art director.
Uh-huh.
And well, he's been an incredible influence in my life, and he knew that my father had passed, and very kindly explained why the art director couldn't be younger than the oldest campers. But offered me a job in the kitchen.
Oh.
And I know that one Mount brother is here, or two here?
Over here.
Awesome. We were kitchen hooies.
Ah,
We worked in the kitchen.
great.
Yes, and I earned money. I got to be at camp. It was perfect. And then I went on to be a counselor, waterfront staff, and waterfront director, and then the assistant director.
So that's the number 2 person in the camp. That's like Austin's helper.
It was Austin's helper.
Yeah, good for you.
He taught
Good
me a
for
lot.
you. Camp teaches a lot.
It does. It taught me responsibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and resilience, I'm sure. Well, we have some pictures. Now, you had some pretty good friends there.
Yeah.
You're not in the back row. You're the only person who's not in the back row.
It's interesting. Wow, yeah. My sister took that picture. She came for Visitor's Day. And yeah. So there's a couple of really good pals that are not in that picture, but at that moment, down on the Deach Beach, that's the crew that was there. So they made their cameos.
That's great. This is the rest of your friends.
Just a silly, silly group of people that would stand up for you in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And this is at an anniversary.
Yep.
You're in the back row again, this time on the far left.
I am, because I have a massive cast on my leg, and we had to get it out of the picture.
Hide it. Well, let's go to university now.
Okay.
Ileana, where did you begin your post-secondary career?
I went to Ryerson Metro.
As it formerly was known.
Yes, I went to Ryerson, and then I went to McMaster University.
What did you study at Ryerson?
So here's a funny. So you know when you don't know what you want to do, and then they give you the test through guidance, answer these questions, and then it goes through a little machine, and it told me that I should be an Army officer, or a public health inspector. So I went to Ryerson for public health inspection.
We had a guest many years ago. His name is Steve Smith, better known as Red Green. Mm-hmm. Steve Smith said that he went to McMaster University, which both you and I attended, and that after 18 months, they realized he had no right to be in the engineering program and turfed him out. His father paid for a very expensive 5-day test to determine what he should do, and the fellow sat down with him and very seriously said, "We've decided you should be an engineer." So it doesn't always work out. The only thing he was better at than engineering, according to this test, which was very high, was entertainment.
Okay.
But the person told him nobody can make a living at entertainment.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Tell Red Green that.
I remember sitting at a at a festive meal with my eldest aunt, who had the mouth of a trucker. So, Ileana Grimm, what are you going to do next? Because there's no way you can be an artist for a living.
Yeah, exactly. You showed her. What was the benefit of?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Showed her.
Yeah. What was the benefit of the time you spent at Ryerson? How did that advance your cause?
I think there's a lot of pressure to decide what you're going to be, and I knew very quickly that health inspection was not going to be for me.
Well, that's helpful.
Yes, and that's probably more what that time provided me, was knowing what I didn't want to do.
Yeah. During your second year, you applied for another program.
Yes, at the time, Ontario College of Art.
Mm-hmm. Which would have fit right in with what you wanted.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So how did the application go?
Not very well. At the time, I don't know how they do it now, but they had 3 professors sitting in a row, And each one of us filed into one of the seats, and that was the initial interview. They'd look at your portfolio, they'd ask you some questions, and they'd grade you, and then you moved to the second, and you would eventually see all three. And basically, number 2 just confirmed what number 1, and then number 3 confirmed. And this gentleman said, "Where did you copy these drawings from?" And I said I didn't, and he said, and it's like I can remember it like it was yesterday. "Not only did you plagiarize, but you're also a liar."
Oh.
I know, meanie.
Yeah.
Total meanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 19. You don't
I
say
hope
that to
he's
a
been
19.
following your career.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's probably, in hindsight, best thing that could have happened.
Really. Do any extracurricular stuff at Ryerson, as it was then known?
I did. I was on the varsity volleyball team.
Have a
And
picture of that.
Yep,
Look at that.
there I am,
Yeah.
doing the big jump.
Good.
Look at, I didn't have a belly then.
And then you also did some swimming.
Yeah, well, I applied to be a lifeguard so that I could make money. And the swim coach, who was also running the whole pool, said, "Yeah, you can have a job, no problem, but you have to be on the swim team." So I became a varsity swimmer.
Perfect. You also did a little artwork on the side.
Another job, after school programs with kids. I did art classes at some community schools.
You then moved on to McMaster University. I know it'll come as a complete shock to our audience, but you were there after me. We were not there at the same time.
I'm sure we passed each other in the pub.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah,
Midday.
I
Picture.
hate to admit how much after.
Picture that looked like that, I recall.
Yeah, that's right. Patty Green? What was your course of study there?
My marks needed a little massaging, so I went into just general studies and then took care of a lot of my electives and got accepted into physical education,
Zed? Yeah.
which is now the kinesiology program.
Yeah.
And because I had my electives mostly taken care of, I did the 4-year program in the 3. So I was there
Wow.
for 4 years, yeah.
Good for you. Extracurricular, what kinds of things did you do at McMaster?
I illustrated for the school paper.
Was it called the Silhouette still?
Yes,
Yeah.
at the time, yes. And I was the chair for the Women's Athletic Council. Well, I was on the Athletic Council,
Right.
and then ended up being the chair. And
Now we have a very high quality photo.
it's
of
really
that.
good. And there's no way you can prove it's me. See, I've blacked out the faces. But I will say that that is one fine mullet.
Yeah.
That is a good mullet.
A mullet's something you have to work at, isn't it?
I don't think you had to work at that one. I think you just kind of like blew it and and it would part where it was supposed to.
Perfect. That brings us to your employment history. How did you start out after your graduation? What was your first job?
Oh, that was an awesome job. Fitness equipment sales.
Perfect.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
you'd be
really
good at
good.
that.
Sell people stuff that they're never going to use.
Yeah.
It felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good. No, don't look at that Thigh Master. Come on over here and see this $3,000 machine. That's what you want.
You sold me.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Then you did some website work.
I did the website work quite a few years later because I was part of the alumni of McMaster, and they contacted me to do the buttons when websites were just emerging. And they asked me to do the website buttons for the McMaster website. Yeah.
Great. When did you get into the art that would become your career? After the fitness equipment?
Yes.
Because of the fitness equipment?
I think so. I was selling fitness equipment in Burlington for Fitnessland, and I had a lot of spare time because there weren't a lot of people coming into the strip mall to buy the Universal Gym.
Yeah.
So I was starting to draw, and I then put together enough what I thought were good illustrations, and I sent them off to see if I could get them syndicated. And over time, I had quite a collection of rejection letters. Everyone wanted to be a cartoonist then.
So it was a cartoon you wanted to syndicate?
Yes, yes, I was...
Did you get more rejection letters than applications? One of our guests many years ago, a guy named William Paul Young, who's now a very famous author, with his first book, which has become one of the 50 best-selling books in the history of the world, something called The Shack.
Okay.
William Paul Young sent out 27 galleys and got back 28 rejections. So, how's that?
I didn't have that much luck. That's good vodka.
It's awful?
You should try it.
You don't like it?
The vodka's good. Very good. Very good vodka.
So when did you start painting on shirts?
I had a student loan, and I thought this would be a clever way of making affordable gifts for people. So I hand-painted shirts for birthday gifts.
One-off?
One-off.
Is that remunerative?
No. And then a friend said, these are really good. You should do something with this. So then I figured out ways to do it faster. And my sister and I went into craft shows. And the first really good show that I did, which was in Barrie, Kempenfeld, I sold out in the first day.
Wow.
Yeah, and so then I realized that I was going to have to get even smarter with how I was making this.
Right, and what was the process to be smarter?
Well, less paint.
Less paint?
Less paint,
Yeah.
more white backgrounds. And then very quickly I evolved into, I'm going to have to learn how to silkscreen.
Had you studied that at all?
Anybody that took art at MSS learned how to silkscreen at some point in time. And I thought, well, how different can it be? Different paints, different inks. How do you cure it? So I went to a silkscreener in Hamilton and said, I would like to work for free so that I can learn everything and pilfer your secrets.
And that
I did.
obviously worked out well.
Yes, and then I started to do silk screens, and I did what's called hot splits, which are you screen on paper and then you use it. It's like a transfer, but it's a bit fancier.
Right. We have a picture here of you
Yes, the
in
basement.
your fancy lab.
It's a fancy lab, and you needed that because there was some steam that came off that stuff that was terrible. Like I had bloody noses all the time. So then I had this whole system where it vented out the basement. And look at how low the ceiling is. Oh, you didn't have a chance.
This is your basement?
It's my basement.
Fancy lab is in the basement?
My fancy lab. Because I was one of the few lucky people that graduated university with some money, and I bought a house in Hamilton, and that's
Wow.
my basement in my house.
Wow.
I know.
Good for you.
It was $38,000. $38,000.
It's worth more now, I hear. Now, you started a company.
Yes.
What was it called?
It went through a lot of versions. At first, it was, and I was trying to make a play on sweetheart, and I called it Sweat Art. And then my sister was interested in maybe doing kids' clothing, so then we became the Sisters Grimm.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, that's smart.
that was clever. Now, that's a clever one. You don't know how we got that. So then she became Critters, and I became Grimm.
Okay.
Yes,
And what kind of products were you producing at the beginning?
T-shirts and sweatshirts.
And that was in 86-ish?
Yeah, that would be when I, yes, so I'd probably be 87 then, yeah.
Now, what did you, and I know this sounds like a serious question, and it really is. What
I'll try
did
to
you
take
see
it
your
aside.
mission to be? What was it you were trying to achieve with the shirts, aside from making a living?
I think, well, I kind of went on a little side panel, a little side direction. I started to do sporting coordinates. And so I was selling these motifs that were on sweatpants, t-shirt, and a sweatshirt to the pro shops at like Mohawk Tennis Club and different places like that.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was really just trying to establish a brand. And then I got bored of that and I went back to the fun. And I think I just wanted to make people laugh.
I have 2 or 3 quotes here that describe your art. If you'll let me, I'll share them. And these are things that have been written about you for shows and craft shows and so forth to promote your products, written by other people. Grimm's art is contemporary pop art in its purest form. Another one, years later, her art and warped outlook, I think that's positive, has found its way around the world. And finally, Grimm's humor is hilarious, but surprisingly sophisticated. So we're going to test that thesis right now. We're going to put up a few of your works of art and see whether our audience thinks that this is hilarious, but surprisingly sophisticated.
I don't know about the sophisticated.
Are we ready?
I'm ready. Oh, it's one of my favorites.
I think that is clever and sophisticated.
So I drew that with my finger on the laptop, and I think one of the things that I like so much about that is I probably redrew it like, I don't know, a dozen times, but it never looked quite as funny as the first. So
Well, I think that's pretty funny.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a man in a unicorn? Do you want me to explain this to you?
Well, I know the explanation, but you can explain it to the audience.
There's enough people laughing. I don't think I have to
Yeah,
explain this anyway.
Okay. Does anybody know what the real line should be? Clouds. There are clouds in my coffee, clouds in my coffee. Who sang that?
Joni.
Joni Mitchell.
Thank you. You're right.
What's that?
I don't have to say the right. Carly Simon.
Carly Simon.
You're so
Oh,
vain.
thank you. We were just testing you.
Yeah. This is a test on who you want to have friendships with.
Yeah.
If they don't think it's funny, move along.
My wife will think this is funny, and she's in the audience because she convinced her brother, who was 10 years younger than her, that those creatures were chickens.
Keep her.
Yeah.
Keep her.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Another quote for you. Ileana has a talent for twisting everyday themes and phrases, turning her doodling during university into artwork. You have said, and I'm quoting you here, I'm drawn to the less obvious humor. We're going to explore in a minute sort of what the sources of that humor are. But you also, with your art, Ileana, poke fun at real-life situations that seem to resonate with people from a wide range of backgrounds. You talk about giving people permission to laugh at themselves, or let's look at some of your major characters.
Okay.
Okay, so who are these guys?
I call them Dex and Eddie.
Dex and Eddie.
Dex
I don't
has
know why
the
the audience.
bruiser.
This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Somebody's snickering. Yeah.
they're good characters, and I worked on them for a long time because I wanted them to be not too cute,
Yeah.
but still somebody younger could appreciate them, but
Right.
not too cute so that
Right.
adults could wear them.
Another one of your popular characters.
You know, and I meant to send you a different one than that one. The two fish are looking at each other, and the one fish says, "Can you keep a secret?" That's the one I meant to send you.
That's great.
Oh, I love this one.
This character is called
Yeah.
Milk.
Yeah, I didn't know and it just stuck because they're every person and wholesome, and so yeah. So the dog is just asking for a little reciprocal love.
Now, I must...
It's not a dirty thing. No.
No.
No. Don't go there.
Okay. I was going to go to the next slide. You're the one who wanted to stay
No,
here.
I know where you're stuck now. I know where you're stuck. I know it.
This is my favorite character. This is Pearl.
Yeah, it's Pearl.
You do a lot of pearls.
I have hundreds of Pearl.
Yeah. Yeah, and they all have the same basic theme.
Yes. Yes, she's, yeah.
Yeah. This is very funny.
So, I have a little dog.
Yes.
I've never had a little dog before. Now I have this thing that is 8 pounds of pure evil. And this is where art imitates life. Those are my blinds.
Oh, really?
And sometimes I'll come home and there's like little chunks of plastic and there's like blood and the things are all, and I've got these great pictures where I've taken from outside and they're all broken and gnarly, but I don't have him as a character. And so this is Zoe.
Zoe the cat.
Yeah, Zoe's no longer around, not mine, but my business partner's cat. But Zoe's gone on to live. She hated me, so I decided I would torture her by making her a character. It's my right.
Yes.
Yes. Him?
People like him.
Yeah. So
Salty.
I didn't have an audience for him.
Yes.
My customer base would never accept
No.
a farting clown.
Yeah.
So I allowed my inner 12-year-old to come to play, and I licensed Salty to some other companies in the United States. So, yeah, Salty was not the clown you wanted to hire for your kid's birthday.
I'm just trying to figure out whether anybody's insulted. Nobody's walked out. We're fine. We're fine.
We're
Okay,
good.
we'll just keep going.
Yep, more
Okay.
vodka.
Now, I really want to focus on the creative process. I want to sort of understand how this brilliant humor gets started and developed. Where do you seek inspiration?
It comes from a couple of different places. I ended up with my business having categories that sold really well. So you had to refresh them. So that was more of a business decision. Okay, wine sells really well for us right now, so we need a new wine design. Okay, well, and I would just sit down and write all the words that were related to wine. Okay, what does that sound like? I'd sit with a thesaurus and take a look. So that was more task-oriented. But I came up with some awesome stuff, which has been ripped off so many times. And the other form is, and it's usually, that's the stuff that cracks me up. And if it doesn't make me laugh,
You don't do it?
but it's the stuff like, I love a man and a unicorn. It's funny. I thought I was a genius when I came up with that. And it's the worst experience. I'd come out of my office. Okay, this is really funny, right? This is really funny. And Jane, my business partner, would look at it and go, I'd go back to my office.
Drawing board.
Yeah. Like this was a loser, this shirt.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm not supposed to look at the audience. It's pet portraits, $3.99, and it's like the worst portrait ever.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. Okay.
Do you get inspiration from stuff you hear, like
Yes.
Things on the radio or television or newspapers?
Radio, constantly.
Radio?
Because I'm not given the visual. Television, no, because I'm given the whole piece of information.
Right.
But when I'm having conversation or I'm listening to the radio, I hear something, like a couple days ago, we're at home. I can't even remember what the conversation was. I'm just realizing that there's a stump beside me. Cool.
Take it away.
No, it's good. I like the stump. Wasn't that in Seinfeld? No, it's a nice stump. Wasn't it? Wasn't that in a show or something? It was a stump.
We'll be right
like
back.
Like the stump. No, it's a good stump. I think they were missing a limb or something. I can't remember. So anywho,
So we were talking about inspiration.
We were talking about something about, being friends with people in high places. And I said, oh, that would be really funny.
Yeah.
Trapeze artist.
Yeah.
And, and so I'm not sure where the third party would interact with that to make it funny. Maybe they'd be on the ground, like saying hi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Clearly it was better in my head.
No, I'm working on it.
Thank you. No, you're still stuck with the dog.
Yeah. Yeah. When you hear words, you're constantly manipulating them. You're constantly looking for synonyms or ways to use words,
When I'm in design mode, which I am now,
right?
yes. Oh, sitting on the cord, sitting on the cord. Don't sit on the
Uh-oh.
cord. I've got big rules.
No,
Don't
you've
sit
been
on the
told,
cord.
Do not sit on.
Do not sit on the cord. When I'm in design mode, because I'm currently doing new work for another company, I'm consciously thinking everything you say.
So what happens if no ideas come?
I cry. I cry.
I've
I drink beer.
I've asked people on the stage from a number of walks of life, when the author sits down with their lined paper and nothing happens. When a painter, an artist sits down with a canvas and doesn't know where to start.
So in my phone, in iPhones, you have your notes. After a couple of beers, I think I'm really clever, and I write down all these really good things.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, I wake up, it's like, yes, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I think, what on earth was I talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what that reference is. Like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Like, are there words missing? Is that a run-on sentence?
So when you're constructing a panel, where do you start? Do you start with a topic? Do you start with a word? What's the launch point?
If we can use wine as the example
Sure.
again, and I know what its end product is going to be, the audience for that wants it to look sophisticated. They don't want it to, be too graphic. They want it to be clever because they consider themselves, a clever person, more so. And I cater how it's going to look to that. But if I'm just doing this goofy stuff, how can I reduce the information? Because I used to have this idea, 3 seconds. If you don't get that this is funny in 3 seconds,
Yes.
then I've got to get rid of information.
Right.
How little can I remove? It's like a game of strip poker.
Yeah, pare it down.
How little clothing can I be wearing before I'm naked?
Yeah. Okay.
Vodka.
Vodka. It actually isn't even good water. You're right. Who do you have in mind when you do a panel? Do you have sort of a target audience? And does that target audience change from panel to panel?
Yes. You hate to have to do that to artwork, but a hockey design now has to do a full age range,
Yeah.
and it has to be gender inclusive because everybody's interested in it. So, I can't go. I have to make it family friendly because it's mostly in that type of a store.
Now, one of the topics that has been in the news for far too long is a certain orange-haired guy from the nation south.
Yeah.
So you came up with the concept of a temper tantrum.
Oh, that's when he didn't get into office, so I had to do that.
Yeah.
I did a lot of nasty things to him, deservedly.
Well, what do people think of this one?
You know,
Doesn't need any words, does it?
no. I've had a lot of fun with him. I started off with when he was 4, and he's just this little kid with this little, basically the same outfit. I think I just swirled him around, and he's playing with building blocks. This is when he was on his tirade of building the wall.
Yeah.
And it was like Donald Trump when he, at age 4, building a wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've had endless fun with him. He makes it easy.
Yeah, for everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And rest his soul, but Rob Ford did the same. I had a lot of fun with that gentleman.
Yeah. How do you approach the concept of conveying that it's funny?
Well, first I tell you, this is really funny. Take a look.
That'll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough done.
Yeah.
Do you sketch out and then fill in later? Is that the idea, or?
Yes. I mean, sometimes at a trade show, at the Toronto Trade Show, quiet hours, I'll just be doodling, and maybe I heard something, maybe I thought of something, and it's rough as guts, and sometimes I'll redraw it and scan it into my computer. Sometimes I'll just do a vector drawing in my computer, and yeah.
Now, once you have the concept, and this temper tantrum, we'll just use that as an example, how does the piece create itself? And by that I mean, do you kind of visualize in your mind what it's going to look like before you start putting the pen to paper, or does the pen sort of lead you to the conclusion? And let me tell you what I'm getting at. I have authors who will tell me that their book wrote itself. That
They were high.
That their fiction, that they don't know how it's going to end, that they don't know how they can hardly wait, just like the audience, to see how this turns out. Do you have that feeling when you're creating art?
Paintings, yes.
Painting?
But not what you're using tonight.
Okay.
Those are, okay, what would make it funnier? Okay, walk away.
Yeah.
I stick it on my door.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? No, that other thing has to be smaller because it's taking up too much attention and you're missing the joke. So that person has to go away. That person has to have less color. Yeah, so it's kind of like cooking.
Do you make false starts?
All the time. Terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
How many rejects would you have to a keeper?
Well, sometimes I've surprised myself and been able to do new work for the upcoming season quite easily. Different products are easier to do. For instance, Pearl, your favorite, she's not on any products other than hard goods, so magnets and notepads and stuff. I don't have to worry about anything other than the punchline, not how many colors, how much is it going to cost to print, or anything like that.
Right.
I don't have to think about those things.
Right.
But yeah, other stuff much harder. I can get frustrated, and I can have that ugly artist side, the temperamental.
Not you.
True.
You're an artiste. Do you know what an artiste is? An artiste is an artist with a character flaw.
Ah, my favorite kind.
With an attitude, yeah. Yeah. How do you know you're done with a piece? Whether
Paintings?
it's art or painting.
Paintings, I could work on them. If it's not in this style where it's very bold and simplistic, because I've gone through a phase where I really liked it to be poster-like, and I could work forever on keeping the lines beautifully smooth, and you can keep fixing and fuddling with it. But paintings that are a little more elaborate, take it away and say it's done.
Do you have an editor or a foil or somebody you run things by?
Anybody that'll listen.
Perfect.
I used to send out to a group of people, hey gals, here are the wine designs. Pick your top 5. And then I'd sign everybody's name. And sometimes I use social media. I mean, I hate that. It's like Black Mirror stuff. How many likes? Yeah. But it does tell me what was the response to it.
Right. I think you've already answered this question. What keeps you going?
Yes. Okay, so here's a good example.
I like beer on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
funny.
This is an idea I got, but it was visual and hearing.
Yes.
So the movie The Family Man, he gets transported, he wakes up in the life that he could have had, and his now little daughter says, do you like children? And he says, on a case-by-case basis. And I went, that's it.
Yeah.
Wrote it down right away.
Perfect. Let's talk about the business of art.
Okay.
At what point did you decide to make it a career, that this is how you were going to earn your living?
I was making a crap load of money.
That'll help. So how many Canadian artists do that?
I think more than we know. I don't think we're great at celebrating what comes from our country as much. Well, I think it's getting better, but there are amazing Canadian artists.
There are.
But I am fortunate to make a living doing what I love, and I can't, every day I just can't believe I get to make people laugh.
What
Perfect.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kinds of demands does this career place on you?
You don't always feel funny. During COVID, I didn't feel funny. So, I mean, I made fun of, but I wasn't doing trade shows. I was designing doormats for a company that wasn't coming.
You mentioned trade shows. We have a picture here from I guess this is the Canadian Gift Show.
Yes, the Canadian Gift and Tableware Association. They have 2 shows in Canada. That's the Toronto show.
And so this is all your product?
Yes. Some of the walls you can't see on the other sides, but yeah. So I try to give a representation of sort of everything that not every design is out, but
right.
Yeah, the categories.
Kinds of products, yeah. Okay. This is a kind of a collage of some of your
Wine stuff, yeah.
wine stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy the
Wine regions of my house. Again, another design. Knocked off so many times.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I remember the day I came up with that. A friend was over. We were having cocktails. And we kept moving around because we sat on the front porch and it was noisy. And then we went to the backyard and the neighbor's dog was, so
Yeah.
I said, oh, look, we're doing the wine regions of my house.
Yeah, that's funny. These are some of your T-shirts. Is that your best seller, the T-shirt line? Is that?
It changed. Initially, I was only a T-shirt company, and a gentleman wanted me to do magnets. He was a magnet manufacturer, and I thought, oh, but if I do magnets, then the person who's humming and hawing might only get the magnet because they just wanted the joke. And nope, turned out that the person who was humming and hawing got both. And then from there, we just kept growing things. A lovely woman who used to come to my booth all the time said, wow, she had a gourmet shop. If you did aprons, I'd buy aprons. I said, well, if you find me an apron manufacturer, the next time you come, there'll be an apron. So we grew things, and there have been times where aprons have been the best sellers, sometimes the magnets, sometimes the T-shirts.
Okay.
And sometimes, it's seasonal.
Now, you display your work outside Canada, or did when you were
Yes.
when you had your company. You did a show in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so I was doing the licensing show. It used to be in New York, which was so awesome and inspiring and exciting. And then it got moved to Las Vegas, which is also a very cool city. And they messed up my booth. They threw me into, to make up for it, they threw me into a really big booth. And these two people came by, and they stopped, and they looked at my stuff, and then they kept going. And I know that they would have missed me had I not been in this big booth.
Yeah.
So angels were looking out for me. And then they came back and they said, "Do you paint?" And I said, "Yes." And then they scurried off like little chipmunks. And then they came back and they said, "No, but really, do you paint like this stuff?" And I said, "Yes." That was the beginning of working with this gallery chain. They had 7 locations. And for 2 years, that was my 15 minutes of fame.
Wow.
I did so well with them. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a picture here. This is your display
In one of the locations,
in one of the locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was about to do a talk. I was there for a different show, and you can see the easel. They're about to put a piece of my work on there, and I was going to talk about it.
Good, good.
It was a hideous talk, though, because my dog had passed away the night before.
Oh.
I know. And so that bottom one, against animal testing,
Yeah.
was my dog. And I just told them right out, I'm going to bawl through the whole thing, and I did.
Oh.
And it worked.
That's too bad. I'm interested in exploring for a minute with you satire and humor.
Mm-hmm.
How are satire and humor different in art than in other formats?
I think there's, in some cases, cynicism can sneak in, and I don't think we mind it when it's, delivered in a spoonful.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're going to look at it all the time, you have to be very careful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to be pleased by what you're looking at. I don't think, maybe I'm projecting. I don't think I want to poke a dark mirror at humanity with a piece of artwork.
Mm-hmm. You've been quoted as saying that the best jokes reverberate with what is left unsaid.
Well, like dog cat.
Yeah.
Do I have to explain it anymore?
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
The joke is good.
Yeah.
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 You know,
3 seconds. 3 seconds. It
3
happened.
seconds.
It
yeah.
happened.
Yeah. I've debated doing another drawing of that with a third circle.
Oh. And
But I'm not really sure what's in the vein of that one. But
yeah.
bad decisions, I'm not sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It seems that double meaning is often portrayed in your art. Is that something that you're looking for on a regular basis? Double entendre?
I do like that. And then I was looking back at my work, trying to see it with fresh eyes, and I realized that that was all that I was doing. And there's a lot of things to be funny about with and have humor that doesn't have to necessarily be a twist of a phrase or funny. But doing phrases that we're all familiar with, I feel makes the artwork accessible because we're familiar. And so you don't feel like you're, what does that mean? Well, you don't have to, sometimes a cigar is truly just a
Something
cigar.
like this?
Yes. See, now this is good, right? Because they always make the cat the smart one. The cat is not the smart one. That cat is cheating.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you keep your humor fresh?
Be authentic. Do I think it's funny? And kind funny, not mean funny. I'm sorry about the cat. Did I offend you with the cat?
No, I assure you, you didn't.
For all the cat people, I
I
apologize.
know, you got to be careful.
Dog needed a chance, and that's my dog. That was my dog, Remy. She was smart.
Canadian humor is different.
It is. It is. And my Canadian humor, which I kept fresh for years and years. I didn't do well in the souvenir industry because my Canadian humor, not through my effort, became something that Canadians were buying because it was funny to us.
So Canadian.
Yeah.
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 How about this?
Yes. That was one of the earliest ones, Canadian stick-up.
It's very smart.
Thank you. There's also a Canadian SWAT team.
A Canadian.
SWAT team.
Oh, yeah.
It's a couple, and she's great. She's got curlers in her hair, and they're sitting at a picnic table, and black fly season, and they're playing cards. It's like,
Whose art do you follow? Who inspires you?
I'm inspired by people visually, and I'm inspired by people for their humor, and very few bring them together. So visually, it can bounce all over the place because there's just such incredible artwork, and the rabbit hole of social media, I could just sit there and look at art forever. From a humor point of view, I mean, Seinfeld was outstanding. Visual artists, there's an artist called Clyban, who's no longer around, but he used to, I believe Playboy was, I think he was the illustrator for Playboy. Funny, weird stuff. Yeah, him.
You get more laughs than he does.
I think they can't read it very well.
I think they can't read
yeah.
it.
It says, it was hell, recalls a former child.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I made you put this next slide in. I know the next slide.
Some people would say that he invented the sort of single panel with a third party.
He did, and Gary Larson recognized the strength in that and grabbed it and ran with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the first.
Now you're leading up to the next slide.
I love this so much.
Okay.
And not because of the obvious. Fred, it's for you, Fred.
Thank you so much, Ileana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred's house, Fred speaking.
Fred's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. What about David Shrigley? He was
So funny. Yeah, he's a strange, but there's
We have
so
one of his pieces I'm going to put up.
Yeah.
And you have to know that it's funny
Yeah.
before you read it, or else you might think it's just odd.
Okay. Oh, so funny.
Lost, gray and white pigeon with black bits, normal size, a bit mangy looking, does not have a name. Call 257-1966.
So funny. A lot of what he does is illustration, but he started with some of this stuff. So funny. And just weird things. He took photographs, like he would take a leaf and paint it a different color and put it amongst all the other leaves and put writing on it. It's just goofy, funny. I think the sense of the ridiculous is what I enjoy about what he does.
You have had work commissioned by a lot of organizations, and I'm going to run through this just briefly, if I may. But I know you've done work for the Toronto Stock Exchange. I hope you can see that. For Casino Rama.
Yes.
And this is for Disney.
Yes.
This is Disney's Canadian Smile. That's perfect. You've also done work for the Science Centre, for the National Capital Commission, for McMaster University, the Canadian Cancer Society. So your work is not just in the private homes, but also in some pretty major institutions. We don't have a lot of time for this part, but I do want to touch on it, and that's COVID had an impact on your work, and you put up a display of your work in your front yard. I mean, doesn't everybody?
Yeah, I had some time.
So here's you in your front yard.
A shopping cart arrived. I decorated it.
Yeah.
and kept decorating it, and families were coming. And then it got cold, and so I thought, okay, I'll make ice things. And I put words in them. The freezer looked like Jeffrey Dahmer's freezer. It was really weird.
And you had a couple of signs that I think are two of your best pieces of work.
Those were all stapled to the, yeah. And the kids would come because they could read this, and they got the joke. And it would be so cute. And they'd all be squatted down reading all these little puns that I'd put on the shopping cart. And I was sitting like the woman up in the Rapunzel, Rapunzel. I was up on the third floor, and I could look down and see the kids laughing. It was so fun. Yeah. You know, it's funny.
It is funny. It is. And this is my favorite.
Totally.
Well done.
Thank you very much. That still cracks me up. That's funny.
You have said, how you live life is a choice. I choose to see the bright, humorous side. And this breaks me up. I like poetry, long walks on the beach, and poking dead things with a stick. Why do I think of my grandson?
Because we were all your grandson at some point in time.
That's right.
Ooh, it's smelly. Smell it. Ooh, it's dead, Grandpa.
Yeah, that's right.
Smell it.
You've had to overcome some obstacles, among them being too young to be successful and being a female. How are you dealing with that? I think you told me that somebody once asked you whether it was your dad's company.
Yeah. Oh, so this is your dad's company?
Yeah. How are you trying to encourage younger people, younger women to?
I think it's a lot. I mean, I think it's getting easier and easier all the time.
Yeah.
It's not an odd thing. I mean, I was marching into, what was that? Garments, Central Garments. They did all the T-shirts for Roots and for Beaver Canoe. And here I am, you know, I looked young.
Yeah.
Walking in there saying, yes, I'd like to buy 30,000 sweatshirts. And they thought, okay, nice. Did you bring our sandwiches, little girl?
Ileana, we've had some fun, but there's a very serious part of your life that you've gone through that I want to deal with before we finish, and that is that in 2014 you were a very healthy woman. Here you are with my favorite.
That's in Las Vegas. That picture is from Las Vegas, from the licensing show.
Yeah. You then were diagnosed with cancer, and I wonder if you'd tell us a story, how that came about, what caused you to think that it couldn't be you, and how you dealt with it.
Well, I don't think there's anybody in this room that, if you haven't been personally touched by it or by somebody close to you, I think we all are afraid that it's going to sneak up. And I had done a workout, and it was, I had done chest workout that day, and the following day I was sitting in my business partner's office. She got the window, I didn't, so I was sitting there a lot. Not sure how I drew the short straw on that one.
Well, you got to put your name on the business.
That's right, that's right. And, you know, when you've got a sore muscle, I was like, I thought, I must have pulled something. And it wasn't sore, so I didn't worry about it. And then my muscles repaired, and I had been touching the darn thing so many times, it was now sore. And I thought, oh, good, it's sore, because it's not supposed to be sore or whatever. And I went to my family physician, and she said, I'm sure it's nothing, it moves too much. And I had just had a mammogram, and I had just had a physical, so she wasn't too concerned, and there you go. Off I went spinning, and the 9th of January the following year, he sat down and he said, well, Ileana, it's as we suspected. And you prepare yourself, and then you just don't. And I just sobbed.
You might not have even known that you had this problem had it not been for some time you spent with some girlfriends.
Yeah, a camp friend,
Yeah.
dear camp friend, one of the crew that were in the Deach Beach picture. She had had breast cancer when she was young, when she was 21. And we've made a point of getting together once a year. Wonderful that everyone makes that effort. And there was one year, it was a snowstorm. She was coming in from Chicago. And the other gals went up to Beaver Valley, which is where we were staying at a chalet. And she started to cry. She said, I'm snowed in. I can't get there until tomorrow morning. She started to cry. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, I found another lump. And I said, have you been to the doctor? And she said, no, but I know what it is. So when we were up in Beaver Valley, we were talking about that, and there was a weight in the air. And Kyle very generously said, okay, I'm drunk enough, you guys can touch the lump. And if you ever have this experience or are given this opportunity, I highly recommend. Because of her gift, I knew when I found mine, I knew that it wasn't normal.
Yeah. So what was the diagnosis?
The type of cancer, breast cancer.
And stage?
Well, initially, it was, because of its size from the MRI and from all the other information, and then by the time I actually had surgery, it had grown in size by 0.5 centimeter, and it grew an ugly little sister beside it, and it had, by the time, because when I was told that it was cancer, he said, I just had a cancellation in 2 weeks. Well, you kind of want to vomit. You want to do a little Linda Blair, and I'm going to make that decision 2 weeks from now. Had I been thinking straight, I would have said, yes, I'll take that appointment, and if I didn't feel comfortable, I would have canceled it. As it was, in the time that I waited for the next available appointment, it grew, and it also went into my lymph nodes. So I guess I was stage 3.
Yeah. What was the treatment?
Fantastic round, 6 rounds of chemo. Just delightful. And then 17 Herceptins, and then 25 radiations.
Wow. You still managed to keep your sense of humor through this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's the deal. Because it just falls out like nothing. You just think, what Shar-Pei is in here? It's like dropping hairs everywhere. Yeah. And so I had I got a short haircut. I had had long hair. And I got a short haircut so that it was just a little bit easier. And they say about 2 weeks after your first chemo, it starts to fall out. And they're not kidding. I woke up and I just thought, what black cat has been brushed on my pillow?
Wow.
It's just everywhere.
Wow.
So then I went to a friend, and she took it down.
So then you look like a model, a mannequin.
I'm such an idiot. But I looked exactly like the person.
Yeah.
So that was after my 3rd chemo, and usually you had about 20 to 40 minutes before you really felt horrible. So I would walk as much as I could, and that was on Bloor Street in one of the fancy shops.
That's cute.
So I thought, look at me.
Here you are, continuing to do your art.
I had a really good bolt.
You used the hair growing back in as a series of jokes. Yeah.
I did. And it was a really nice way to let people know I was okay without writing this big, long email. I mean, to have the little hair planters planting and watering the hair. And, and it grows back so weird. I got a mohawk, and then it goes out this side. And
You continued to look for humor throughout the process, and I think this is wonderful.
yes.
Screw laughter. What's the second best medicine?
I did a couple of designs that were around, because of what was happening. There was one I did, the character Milk.
Yeah.
It had a little best friend. And they were looking at this bra sitting.
Oh, yeah.
And it says, I think it's a booby trap.
Ileana, we are almost out of time, but I quickly want to tell folks that this is you and your partner, Jane, starting out.
Yeah, Jane worked with me for 34 of the 36 years.
Wow.
Best business partner you could have.
Great. This is your warehouse.
Yep.
This is you getting an order ready for Disney.
That's Disney's order, yeah.
After
Bye-bye.
the business is sold, there's your warehouse. There's you and Jane having a closing drink.
IPA, nothing but.
Perfect. So we are now out of time.
Okay.
But I do want to thank our audience here in the studio. You have been great, and I hope you've enjoyed the humor. I want to thank those who joined us on Rogers Community Television or on the download of the program. Thanks to our producer, Madison Fitzpatrick. Thanks to the MCC staff. Special thanks to Glenn Irwin, our technician, and to Michelle Fair, who is our marketing and promotion coordinator. Thanks to our season sponsors, Kathy Bales, Michelle Dishaw, Jeff Holloway, and Janet Walter of RBC Dominion Securities. And as I mentioned, they provide wealth management services and strategic advice to their clients. Thanks also to our sponsor for this evening, Grant Thornton, and to Steve Hogg for being with us. Thanks to our team that helps put this program together, Rod Ferguson, Brian McKell, Jen Parker, Jonathan Wallace, John Farragher, Lorianne Clancy, and Doris Sloan. Ileana, I really want to thank you. I've had a lot of fun preparing for this program. You're a very funny person, and I have loved your art, and I love your spirit. Just keep doing it.
Thank you. I look forward to continuing to create.
Well,
I appreciate being asked. I'm very honored, and it's really nice. I'm looking forward to saying hello to some familiar faces.
Well, I will tell our audience here then that following the program, Ileana and I will meet you out in the atrium, and I know many of you will want to say hello to her. I want to tell you about our next program. Our next program will be, I think, December the 1st, and my guest will be Herbie Kuhn, the voice of the Toronto Raptors. Particularly exciting for me, and tickets for that will be on sale later this week. So, thanks to all of you for joining us, whether you've been watching or here in the studio, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Watching hockey just got a power play with NHL Center Ice and Super Sports Pack. With up to 37 out-of-market NHL games a week, you'll always catch your favorite team no matter where you live. Whether it's big matchups you're looking for or following your top fantasy picks, it's all here. NHL Center Ice, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. All this for only $35.95 a month. Order through your remote on Channel 450 or call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today.
Ho, 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 ho. Hey, kids, it's that time of year. Join us on Rogers TV for Talk to Santa. Give us a call and we'll have a chat. Ho, 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 ho.